Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Jaguares versus the Brumbies. It finished 20-15 in the end to the home side as the Jaguares got a very important win. They left it tight and in the end it shouldn't have been really that close, to be honest. We saw from the start what the Jaguares were going to try and do. They were going to try and hold up the players in the tackle, and they got it wrong early on, where the player was getting his knee down and they weren't releasing, and they were getting blown for penalties, which basically gave the Brumbies the field position to get their first to get there. But the Brumbies basically were just giving the ball away at that point, and a loose ball from the Brumbies meant that Cavelli got to have a fantastic break downfield. Comes into his breaks down the left, comes to the right, away from all his support runners. I thought, oh no, this is all going to end wrong. But he put in a lovely cross-field kick from there, and we saw one of the players of the game go in and score the try. And I've gone blank as to the winger's name. Let me just bring that up now. So yes, we saw then that Cancelleri get in and score that try. He had a good game. Also managed to track down Banks and tackle him later in the game as well. So had a really good game for him. Personally, I thought that he was going to be. Yes, he looked like he was running away from his support runners, but cleverly done. There were too many breakdown penalties for the Jaguares early on, and that led to the Brumbies getting an opportunity. They faked they 5 metre line out maul, 5 metre line out. You're expecting them to maul over. They set the maul, but they have a player loop round to the front of the line out. He passes it to the hooker and he goes in the corner. So nice fake there of the maul, which obviously dragged in the Jaguares defenders, because we all know what the Brumbies like scoring from that, and suddenly it's 5-5. Then Banks, off the back of a scrum, loops round and finds a gap and manages to go over as well. Defender perhaps was about a metre too tight, but hey, these are really fine margins, and Banks is a really good player. And suddenly it's 5-12 with the Brumbies in the lead. And we've got to say, both those are first phase scores, and that's what we kind of expect from the Brumbies. They don't go through the phase as well. The skill set just isn't there. We have too many knock-ons, too many turnovers, kicking the ball away too much. The Jaguares came back and again off the back of a scrum on the half-hour mark. The Aussie commentators complaining about the fact that the player was held in the tackle. Doesn't to me. Samu never actually tackled him to the ground. He brought the player to the ground, had a hand on him, but he didn't actually tackle him and go down with him. Didn't hold him down there for any period of time at all. So I'm happy with him getting up and then going over and scoring. Similar sort of thing with Severu Reece yesterday. He never actually got held down. Maybe perhaps there was probably at some point a hand on him while he had a knee down, but happy for that one to go over. Cancelleri then also did some dancing, which broke the line. It got spun out wide to the winger, and again another chip in. We got them ground, and then a couple of phases later we had Karevi bashing over to make it 17-12. So two very quick scores around that half-hour mark put the Jaguares in the front, and they were never going to relinquish that lead. I think Brumbies had opportunities towards the end of that first half with 5 metre line-out scrums. 5 metre line-outs to put to mauls, which is their key weapon, and they failed. And in the end, they decided they would take the 3 points on half-time to make it 17-15, which I think they should have done, and was quite right. In the second half, we had lots of errors early on, with the Jaguares really dominating all the territory, all the possession, and just not coming away with points. Lots of knock-ons. When we get to the stats, you'll see that the Brumbies had a lot of scrums in this game from that, and the Jaguares' handling was just not there today for a lot of these moves. When they got the breaks, they looked fantastic. But amongst the tight, that really was where they kind of struggled. The Brumbies did have a couple of breaks in that after half time, which they could have put points on the board with, but it would have been against the run of play, to be honest with you. And the Brumbies just didn't have the execution to finish those breaks off. As I say, their 2 tries came from a fake line-out maul from 5 metres out and off a 5 metre scrum. They weren't going to be creating much if it wasn't straight off set piece that was close to the line. And eventually the Jaguares got 3 points on the hour mark to make it 20-15. The important thing there was obviously they took it out from beyond a penalty to being a scrum, being a try to win the game. And that would tell with the Brumbies. They had some opportunities because there was a yellow card then, which I thought was a little bit harsh for playing the ball on the ground a few 5 metres out from their line. So the referee gave it. So be it. And around that stage, the Brumbies had 3 5 metre line-outs. The first one they got a penalty from the maul. The second one, the maul was stopped, and they got a penalty at one of the resultant breakdowns, which led to that yellow card. And the third one, again, the maul was stopped, and then one of the locks, Carter, knocked it on, and so that was the end of their opportunities there. The Brumbies really were looking gassed at around that kind of point because on about 70 minutes, 20 minutes, we've still got 10 minutes to go. They've got the yellow card. They've got a player up against the Jaguares, and they're slow setting the scrum. You're like, guys, you've got your opportunity here. This is where you're behind on the scoreboard. The clock's starting to run down, and this is the opportunity you have. These are the 10 minutes where you've got the extra player, and they didn't manage to make it tell. At the depth, their line-out also fell apart as well. So they did have opportunities because the Jaguares just didn't rack up points. So the Jaguares should have won this one a lot more comfortably than they did. So let's get onto the stats for you. And I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see where I get my stats from. And yes, I get them from ESPN. Is where I get my in-game stats from. So that's and they're from Opta. So if you can get it from Rugby Pass and a few other places, they're all the same stats, just formatted slightly differently. I just like this one. As we can see, with this overall possession ended up being even. And even in the second half, but for that first 20 minutes, the Jaguares after half time, Jaguares really did dominate the territory in possession and didn't come away with the points that they needed. As you can see, there's those 3 clean breaks. 2 of those, as I say, early in that second half, really caused the Brumbies should have been able to get more out of them. And as you can see, the Jaguares with their 6 clean breaks were and 25 defenders were the more attacking of the 2 sides. Both sides, 12 and 17 turnovers, but neither of them could hold on to it. But what you saw was when the Brumbies turned over, the Jaguares did something with it. When the Jaguares turned over, the Brumbies didn't, and they ended up with a scrum. And you can see 11 scrums for the Brumbies. That is absolutely that's a high number. And then 18 line-outs as well. They really were kicking to that corner and having to go again. And they did it at least twice in the sort of last 15 or so minutes. Those 2 penalties would have been 6 points, would have been winning the game. Would have been shoulda, woulda, coulda. Obviously, is always in there. We never know how it would have really panned out. But they had time on the clock. Sure, they hadn't been down the Jaguares half that much, but their line-out wasn't working. The line-out more wasn't working, and they should have taken 3 points and then tried to take 3 again, personally, is my opinion. Especially when you look at the penalty count, 11 to the Jaguares, or by the Jaguares, whereas only 6 by the Brumbies. And you can see there that, yes, the Jaguares were getting penalised. We could talk about the Brumbies tackling at 80%, but it was down in like 40% or 60 or 40%, I can't remember what it was now, really low in the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes. So they shored up their defence massively. A lot of those missed tackles were early in the game. where the Jaguares were making ground and then basically giving up ruck penalties to allow the Brumbies to go down the pitch. And then we just repeated that a couple of times there. Lineouts, pretty solid on the whole by the Brumbies, but it fell apart under pressure at the end when they really needed their own ball. The Jaguares, a bit of hit and miss on that lineout today. One thing to point out here is these offloads. Only 3 offloads by the Jaguares. And if you remember when the Jaguares joined this competition, they were the offload kings. They were throwing the ball all over the place. And it just shows how the Jaguares game has developed over the last 4 or so years. It's still expansive. They've still got good wingers. They've still got Buffelli attacking well from 15, but it's not so harem scarum as it used to be, which was kind of like, we have to keep it alive, we have to keep offloading. No, it's become much more sensible than that, while still being expansive, while still being exciting. So, looking at some of the player stats, on the attacking front, we're going to talk about Banks. Had a big game today, racked up a lot of meters. Let's come on, bring up the attacking stats. So 108 metres carrying with ball in hand. He off his 14 runs and 2 clean breaks. He was one of the few good attacking weapons from the Brumbies today. And you've got to say, with obviously Folau out at the moment, you've got to say that there's an opportunity there at fullback with the Wallabies. So could he be putting his hand up for that? Perhaps a bit too early this year, but maybe sometime after that. Apart from him, though, as you can see, he hit 100 metres. Kieran Durrani got through some work, but no one else really got many metres on the board. Whereas we got Buffelli, Cancelleri, but he also chased kicks well, which was important. And we can see there's a back 3. As I was saying, it's expansive rugby. Carreras also over 50 metres. It's just not crazy offload rugby anymore. Cabelli had a couple of good breaks and played really and controlled the game really well, along with Miotti, and kept basically the Jaguares in the right part of the pitch for most of the time. As we kind of expect, the Lavanini, Matera getting through a bunch of work, as well as Creevy as well, known as being a workhorse in this side. Defensively, the Kramer and Lezana got through a chunk of work. We see them not only were they tackling, but also trying to get over the ball, and we also see Creevy does that as well. Minotti with 8 tackles. You probably don't want to hear your fly half doing that, but hey, obviously he stood up to the work that was asked of him. Over on the Brumbies side, Cusack, Samu again with Alatoa. Alatoa got his tackles a bit high at times. Needs to be a bit careful with that. There's definitely a borderline one that he got away with, and then there was a high tackle that he didn't get away with, and that was a penalty. So he was definitely dicing with his tackles today. On the discipline side, where were all those penalties coming from the Jaguares? Well, we had a few at scrum time, obviously with the front row there, but we also had Kramer, Matera, Lezana all trying, and also Lavanini. He's always going to give up a couple, isn't he? All trying at the breakdown to do things, and that's where a lot of those penalties came from. So, I say the Jaguares, they should have sealed this game in that 20 minutes after half time, but they didn't, and the Brumbies just weren't good enough to make them pay. After a couple of upsets with the Waratahs losing to the Sharks, and then the Stormers beating the Bulls. I went for the Bulls, but I know that the Stormers were the favourites in that one. We're back to some normality with the Jaguares winning at home, as you'd probably expect. Next weekend, I will be down at the Zone Sports Bar here in Hamilton for the Highlanders versus the Chiefs. So if you're in Hamilton, come down and join me there. Myself and Stephen will be giving you our unique pre-match show. We'll also fill in during the adverts at half-time, so you don't have to listen to all those. And then we'll give you a post-match reaction as well. Hopefully we get the technology right this time so that we'll be able to live stream it. Sorry that yesterday the technology failed us. And it wasn't all set up properly, so we couldn't do it. But going forward, hopefully we'll have those live streamed to you from the Zone Sports Bar in Sky City here in Hamilton. So there's all sorts of things going to be up around here if you're watching the replay, around sort of being able to subscribe to the channel, become a Patreon, get access to my exclusive opinion pieces every Wednesday, and over there a couple of videos that the artificial intelligence here at YouTube says you'll enjoy. So check those out.